Welcome back, students. In a previous class, we have seen the input impedance of a transmission line. Let us see today the next very important parameter of the transmission line, and that is called the voltage reflection coefficient. So, as we know that in a transmission line, always there is a incident wave and always you will find there is a reflected wave. So, reflection coefficient gamma L, generally reflection coefficient is denoted by the sigma L, is the ratio of the voltage reflection wave to the incident wave at the load. So please take care here that here first of all we are trying to find out the reflection coefficient at the load. So reflection coefficient at load is nothing but mathematically defined by this expression, where we know that the V0 minus e raised to gamma L is nothing but the voltage reflection wave, while V0 plus e raised to minus gamma L is the incident wave. So that's why the reflection coefficient at a load can be expressed as the voltage reflection wave divided by the incident wave. So we already know also that V0 minus and V0 plus we have obtained from our previous classes. So if we will use that expressions and we will put our V0 minus and V0 plus, then we will get the V0 minus is nothing but equal to 1 by 2 VL minus Z0 IL e raised to minus gamma L, and the here there is a already e raised to gamma L. So we also know the V0 plus is equal to 1 by 2 VL plus Z0 IL e raised to gamma L, and we know that there is already e raised to minus gamma L. So that's so here we can see there is a direct cancellation of this positive negative gamma part, and there is also a 1 by 2 cancels. So we will get finally VL minus Z0 into IL over VL plus Z0 into IL. So here we can if we will now define the this reflection coefficient in terms of the load impedance, then I have come out this current term IL over here, and here IL also I put it come out here. So I will get the IL cancel, and VL by IL minus Z0 over VL by IL plus Z0. And as we know now that the ZL can be defined as VL by IL, so here the same expression become ZL minus Z0 over ZL plus Z0. So finally we have a reflection coefficient at a load is defined in terms of the load impedance ZL and in terms of the characteristic impedance. Let us now define the voltage reflection coefficient at any point on the line. So it is the ratio of reflected voltage wave to the incident wave. So here you can see that if the line is having a length L, and as we have used the variable Z as a at any point on the line, then if I have to find out the reflection coefficient at some point L prime or L dash, then this length will be nothing but the, if this one is complete L, then L prime is nothing but the L minus Z. So suppose we have to find out the reflection coefficient, voltage reflection coefficient at a L prime, then it can be expressed by the, because we know that the now the reflection coefficient at any point on the line which is nothing but expressed by the variable Z, then the gamma Z is nothing but the, it is the ratio of the reflected voltage divided by the incident wave. So here V0 minus e raised to gamma Z is nothing but the reflected voltage wave, and V0 plus e raised to minus gamma Z is the incident voltage wave. So if I will simplify these expressions, I will get V0 minus over V0 plus e raised to 2 gamma Z. So but we know that now the Z is nothing but we are interested in the point L prime. So if I will put here L minus L prime, then I will get, I can simplify this expression as a V0 minus over V0 plus e raised to 2 gamma L into e raised to minus 2 gamma L prime. So this way we can see that now this term is nothing but our voltage reflection coefficient at a load. So this way we can now have the final expression that the voltage reflection at any point on the line. If you have to find out, we simply have to multiply the reflection coefficient at L multiply by the e raised to minus 2 gamma L prime. So L prime is the point at which we are trying to find out the voltage reflection. So this way this expression actually define the voltage reflection at a point L prime. So same way, suppose you have to find out the current reflection coefficient. So current reflection coefficient at any point on the line can be defined is nothing but equal to the negative of the voltage reflection coefficient at that point. So simply I can express that the current reflection coefficient is equal to minus gamma L, or I can express as the I0 minus e raised to gamma L divided by I0 plus e raised to minus gamma L. So this is nothing but the current reflected current wave, and this is nothing but our incident current wave. So reflected current wave divided by the incident current waves. If you take the ratio of these two, you will get the current reflection coefficient, and that is nothing but equal to the minus of that gamma L. So this way we have seen the three important expressions. One is the voltage reflection at a load, one is at a reflection coefficient at any point on the line, and the current reflection coefficient at any point on the line. So now let us see the next important parameter, standing wave ratio. So in our uniform plane wave theory also we have defined that the standing wave ratio is nothing but the V max by V minimum, or in terms of the current I can express as the I max by I minimum. So for example we define the standing wave ratio in terms of the voltage, then it is called the voltage standing wave ratio, and if we are defining the standing wave ratio in terms of the current, it is called the current standing wave ratio. So this standing wave ratio actually express the maximum voltage available on that line divided by the voltage available on that line. So if you take the ratio of this available maximum voltage divided by the available minimum voltage, then it is called the VSWR. So same way the same standing wave ratio can be expressed as per our uniform plane theory by the reflection coefficient parameter also. So 1 plus mod sigma L divided by 1 minus mod of that sigma L is nothing but equal to the standing wave ratio. Same way I can express the standing wave ratio in terms of the gamma L is nothing but the mod gamma L, which is nothing but the reflection coefficients mod at the load is equal to S minus 1 over S plus 1. So this way this standing wave ratio is also a very crucial parameter to characterize the transmission line. Let us see now the maxima and minima on the line. So as we know that the maximum current present over the line can be expressed as the whatever the maximum voltage available at any point on the line. If you divide it by the characteristic impedance, you will get the maximum current at that point. Same way, if you have to find out the minimum current at any point on the line, that can be defined by the V minimum divided by Z0. So let us now we have to find out the maxima or minima occurs at any point of the line. So for that case, we know that the maximum input impedance can occur when the voltage is maximum and the current is minimum. So I can express that the input impedance is maximum, or maximum input impedance occurs when the V maximum and whenever there is a current minimum. So this way I can express that the V max by I minimum is nothing but the maximum input impedance point where the Zin is maximum. So now I have I minimum relations. So if I'll put I minimum is equal to V minimum divided by Z0, then you can see here now we get the V max by V minimum into Z0, and we know that the V max by V minimum is nothing but a standing wave ratio S. So this way we can say that the maximum input impedance occurs at that point is nothing but equal to the standing wave ratio S at that point multiplied by the characteristic impedance Z0. Same way, suppose you have to find out the impedance at any point on the line where the minimum input impedance occurs. So for that case, we know that whenever minimum impedance occur, the current will be maximum, and at that point the voltage will be minimum. So we can say that the input impedance minima occurs when the V minima occurs divided by the current maximum. So V minimum divided by I maximum can be considered as the minima occur point. So this way now we know the I max is nothing but equal to the V max by Z0. So if I'll put the V max by Z0, so Z0 will come here. So now we know that the V max by V minimum is nothing but the S. So this way the minima occurs at a point on the line is nothing but equal to the characteristic impedance Z0 divided by the standing wave ratio. So this way the maxima and minima minimum input impedance can be obtained if we know the characteristic impedance, and at that point standing wave ratio. So now let us see the consider the transmission line with some specific value. So consider a transmission line with the characteristic impedance of the Z0 equal to 50 ohm, and let us assume that the line is terminated in a pure resistive load ZL equal to 100 ohm, and the voltage at the load is also 100 volt. So from this figure we can conclude that this is the point at which the electrical length of that transmission line is 0, and this axis x-axis is nothing but the electrical length axis, which can be expressed either by the beta L, which is in radians, or can be expressed in terms of the wavelength, so which is nothing but in terms of the lambda. So here as you can see that I have mentioned some important beta L point. One is 0, one is pi by 2, one is 5, one is 3 pi by 2. Same way in terms of the lambda, there is a 0, there is a lambda by 4, lambda by 2, and 3 lambda by 4. And if you observe that the point at which for this particular case the maxima occurs is nothing but at a load point. So at a load point for this particular case we are getting the maxima, and at a separation of the lambda by 2 once again we are getting the next maxima. So this way we can say that the here the voltage maxima occurs at a lambda by 2 space. Same way, suppose we here you can see that from this figure the minima occurs here at a lambda by 4, and the next minima occurs at a 3 lambda by 4. So here also the separation between these two gap is nothing but the half wavelength lambda by 2. So this way we can say that the line repeat themselves every half wavelength. So value of the either voltage maxima or voltage minima, or from this figure the at this point current is minimum, here also we are getting the current is minimum. So this length is also having a lambda by 2. So we can say that the either voltage minima or voltage minima or voltage maxima or current minima or current maxima occurs at every lambda by 2 separations. So this means please remember that the line repeat themselves every half wavelength, and you will get next consecutive voltage maxima or voltage minima at a lambda by 4 distance. So here you can see that here if there is a minima at lambda by 4 you are getting a distance, you are getting a maxima. So this way here you can see that we are getting a maxima voltage maxima at 0 and at a lambda by 4 you are getting a minima. So this way the maxima and minima is separated by the lambda by 4, and complete line repeat themselves every half wavelength. So this is also a very important parameter. Let us see now the special cases when the line is connected with the load. For example, Z equal to 0 where or ZL equal to infinite, or ZL equal to the Z0. So for the first case, when the line is connected with the load and ZL equal to 0, so here for this case we can see that when the load becomes 0, this line becomes short circuit. So this case is considered as a shorted line case where ZL equal to 0. So for this case, let us we find out the input impedance, then I can express by the ZSC. So when the short circuit line, the impedance input impedance I have denoted by the ZSC is nothing but the case where ZL equal to 0. So if I now put this Z in, as we already know, the Z in is nothing but the Z0 ZL plus J Z0 tan beta L over Z0 plus J ZL tan beta L. But we know that in this special case we have put load impedance equal to 0, and here also there is a 0. So this term will become 0, this term will also become 0. So finally we will get and even the this Z0 will also cancel out. So finally we will get the J Z0 tan beta L. So this way now we have the short circuit impedance for particular short circuit line case. And from this figure itself it is very clear that here this impedance is purely reactive and completely depends upon the length L, physical length L and electrical length beta L. So if now let us find out the reflection coefficient at a load point for this case, then we know that here the ZL equal to 0. So for our well-known equations, if we will put ZL minus Z0 over ZL plus Z0 and ZL equal to 0, so we will get ZL cancel. So we will get the ZL become minus 1. So this way for a shorted line, ZL is nothing but equal to minus 1. And for a S equal to, for a standing wave ratio, we also know that now for this case the reflection coefficient is become minus 1. So this will become 1 plus 1, but because here there is a 1 minus 1, so term becomes 0. So 1 over 0 will become infinite. So standing wave ratio for this case become infinite. So please remember, for a short circuit line the standing wave ratio is infinite and the reflection coefficient is equal to minus 1, and the line is purely reactive and it depends upon the electrical length beta L. So let me put for a different value of this beta L, then how we will get the plot. So for this case here in x-axis there is a beta L electrical length axis where I have put the different value of the beta L, for example 0, pi by 2, pi, 3 pi by 2 or 2 pi, and if I will put the value and if I will plot for a different value of the beta L, you can see I am getting some tangent tan beta L curves. So in your higher engineering mathematics you may have also calculated this type of the problems. You have draw the curve of this kind of the tan beta L functions. So same plot that I am getting here. So here the very important observation is that for here this is nothing but our short circuit impedance. So for given space for electrical length 0 to beta L, the impedance behave in terms of the inductive way, while in terms of the space pi by 2 to pi we are getting the impedance, this impedance behave as a capacitive way. So this way we can conclude that in a given short circuit line, in period of the 0 to pi by 2 and even in a period of 5 to 3 pi by 2 the line behave as a inductive, while in the period of pi by 2 and pi and in the period of the 3 pi by 2 to 2 pi the line is behaving like a capacitive. So this way we can conclude that for a at any point on the line, on a short circuit line, so depending upon the different value of the beta L, we will get either inductive effect or either capacitive effect. So this way, and the line will behave completely the reactive way. So let us now discuss the second case where the line is open circuit. So for this open circuit, ZL equal to infinite, if we will denote by the ZOC, then it can be defined this case as a limit ZL tends to infinity of that input impedance Zin. So our objective here is to find out the input impedance Zin when the line length, when the load impedance is set as equal to infinite. So for this case we have to use this limit. So limit ZL tends to infinity, Zin is nothing but equal to our ZOC. So where open circuit input impedance case. So for this case, let me put our once again this equation Zin. So this is our final Zin equations, and let me simplify these equations. Then I can see that here limit ZL tends to infinity, Z0, and I put I have come out this ZL outside, same way this ZL also. So I will get the 1 plus j Z0 by ZL 10 beta L over Z0 by ZL plus j 10 beta L. So here if because I already come out this ZL, so it will cancel out, and from this if I put this limit inside this bracket, and then I will get this term, because here ZL is in a denominator, so ZL tends to infinite, so it will become 1 over infinite, so this term becomes 0. Same way this term is also become 1 over infinite, so become 0. So finally I will get the ZOC is nothing but equal to Z0 over J 10 beta L. So earlier in our short circuit case we obtained the Z0 Z0 10 beta L, but here the J 10 beta L term is in a denominator side. So it means that this case is also giving you the idea that this open circuit line also behave reactively, and it is also depending on the this electrical length beta L. So here if you will choose the different value of the beta L as I have mentioned in our short circuit case, then it exactly behave opposite to that short circuit case. So if you will see, if you will compare these two cases, then we can see that in a short circuit case, in 0 to pi by 2 case, there is a inductive effect present, while in case of this 0 to pi by 2 for open circuit line case, there is a capacitive effect. Same way in a short circuit line in pi by 2 there is a capacitive effect, but in a open circuit there is a inductive effect. Same way here there is a capacitive effect. Here in this phase you are getting a inductive effect. In this case you are getting a capacitive effect, but in this open circuit case you are getting a inductive effect. So in short, it exactly behave in a opposite way to the short circuit line. So this way we can conclude that both the short circuit line and the open circuit line are the purely reactive lines, and depending upon at what point you are trying the input impedance, either you will get the inductive impedance or you will get the capacitive impedance. So now let us once again calculate the reflection coefficient sigma L for this open circuit case. Then we can see that here if I will put ZL over here, then this and put the limit, then this term will become 0, so I will get 1. So this way reflection coefficient earlier it was -1 for a short circuit case, now for a open circuit case it is a positive 1. And same way we are getting the because it is a 1, so 1 minus 1 term become 0, so this standing wave ratio become 1 minus 0 become infinite, so we will get the standing wave ratio equal to infinite. So this way in this case, open circuit case, the standing wave ratio is infinite and the reflection coefficient is equal to positive 1. Now let us see the third case where the match line. In this case, the load impedance is exactly terminated by the value by the characteristic impedance. So now ZL is nothing but equal to Z0. So for this case, you can see now ZL is nothing but Z0. This full term will cancel, and hence we will get Zin is nothing but equal to Z0. So at any point on the line, if the load impedance is matched with the characteristic impedance, then we will always find out that the input impedance become a characteristic impedance. And for that case, if I will try to find out the reflection coefficient, then we can see here ZL become Z0. So Z0 minus Z0 become it will cancel out, so it will become a 0. So we can say that for a match line there is no reflection, so whole wave is transmitted and there is no reflections, so all the incident wave is fully absorbed by the load. So this way we can say that for a match condition there is no reflection and whole wave is transmitted and the incident wave is fully absorbed by this load. So for this case, if I will calculate the standing wave ratio, then as we know there is no reflection, the standing wave ratio become 1. It means S equal to 1. It means V maximum is equal to the V minimum. So please remember, whenever the match condition or a match line is present, then in that case the maximum power transfer is possible. So maximum power transfer is possible when the transmission line is matched to the load. So this way in this class we have seen the voltage reflection coefficient, we have also seen the standing wave ratio, and we have seen the maxima minima, and we have also seen the 3 special cases of the load. So thank you very much.